Okay, so we're going to pick up with our third part in the Animals Without a Backbone video series here. And first part we talked about animals, features of animals, and phylum Porifera. Second part we started getting into specifically the Cnidarians, and we broke that down into the different classes. We had Hydrozoa, Schizozoa, Cubozoa, and then we left off with class Anthozoa. Those are the corals, the anemones, gorgonians, or what we call the sea fans. Big thing about these guys, a lot of them are symbiotic with zooantheli. So as I mentioned in the last lecture, we will revisit this relationship when we get into marine ecology and we talk about ecological relationships that exist within the marine world. So the next phylum to talk about is this really neat, kind of weird phylum called Ctenophora. Now, Ctenophora superficially will resemble the jellyfish and the Cnidarians, but these guys do not have the cnidocytes. They do not have the guns. Instead, what they have are these rows of ciliary combs. So 8 rows of ciliary combs that continuous beat. So there's this little pulsing constantly going on with these ciliary combs within the Ctenophora. Lack the nematocysts. So no stinging cells. No bullets for these guys. They will use instead sticky threads to capture their prey. Alright, so they are carnivores. They're marine carnivores. They're moving around. They're floating in the water. A little bit of pulsing movement with those ciliary combs. And then sticky threads to capture their prey. Kind of entangle the prey, drag the prey into the mouth, and then into the gastrovascular cavity. Okay? Alright, so that takes care of all of the marine animals with radial body plans that we want to talk about. So now we're going to start moving into animals that have a bilateral symmetry. So remember, with bilateral symmetry, when you slice it in half, there is only one slice down the center here that gives you mirror images right and left side. If you cut the beetle this way, you don't have mirror images. If you cut it that way, or any other direction, you do not get a mirror image because it has bilateral symmetry. Radial symmetry, you cut this coral polyp any direction you want and it's a mirror image. Sponges, they got nothing. They just don't have any type of true symmetry. Okay, so all of the animals in the phylum we're now going to start talking about are going to be animals with bilateral symmetry. The big thing with bilateral symmetry is this increases your movement. Okay, so now you get into the more mobile marine animals. Invertebrates, animals without a backbone, but animals that are highly mobile, or much more mobile, I should say, than the radial symmetry animals. Okay, all right, so first phylum. Phylum Platyhelminths. These are your, what we call your basic flatworms. There's some really crazy ones in the marine ecosystem. Big things we're going to see with these guys. They have bilateral symmetry, and they actually have 3 tissue layers. So we have the ectoderm, the endoderm, and then this inner tissue layer known as a mesoderm. Platyhelminths will have a central nervous system. I'm going to put this in quotes. They have a brain structure, more of a concentration of neurons, but more than what we saw back with anybody in the radial symmetry group. So centralizing your neural system starts to centralize your sensory organs, things like that, and increases your functional abilities. With the flatworms, they have a flattened body plan, and they have an incomplete digestive system associated with that flattened body plan. Okay, so mouth, food goes into a gut digestive system, but no anus, no exit for the digestive system. Instead, wastes tend to diffuse out the body wall. There's these little cells and there's structures in the body wall where wastes can diffuse out of it. So not one opening, but just bunches of little openings for digested waste products to leave the body. All right, so all in all, flatworms are not a major group that we're going to work with when we look at the marine ecosystem. There are some, we'll come across some of them. Some of them are parasites to marine mammals, tapeworms. We will see there are marine tapeworms that parasitize whales and dolphins and seals and sharks and those marine mammals, just like tapeworms parasitize land-based mammals. So, I said not a major phylum to work with, but a few key things we want to remember about the platyhelminths. Ribbon worms, neat group, kind of weird group. This is phylum Nemertia. The key feature for this group is called a proboscis. This is a long tube-like feeding apparatus that they will shoot out of their mouth when they're trying to capture prey. So we look at the picture over here. There's the mouth up there. They do have somewhat of a head region. You got a couple eyes, centralization of nerves, so a brain-like structure. And then this proboscis, this little tube-like thing, just gets shot out and usually wraps up and entangles the prey, grabs the prey, pulls it back towards the mouth, and kills it to feed upon it. They do have a complete digestive system, so food goes into the mouth all the way through, and then wastes will come out the anus at the end. And they actually do have a circulatory system, believe it or not. Kind of interesting, there is a basic rudimentary circulatory system in Nemertia, these ribbon worms. Again, not a major group, but we're going to see some examples of these guys when we're out in the marine ecosystem. So there are some that are definitely part of the marine ecosystem that we will be exploring and taking a look at there. All right. Another phylum, Nematoda. These are nematodes, or we call them roundworms. So big key features, rounded body. They have bilateral symmetry, and they will have a complete nervous system and complete digestive tract. So as we're moving through these phylums, we're increasing in the complexity of the animal. Now movement, a lot more movement in the nematodes than the other phylum we were looking at so far. These guys, the reason why they have so much movement is this structure called the hydrostatic skeleton. Fluid within the body cavity will push. Okay, so in order for them to have this movement, there's fluid within their body cavity that pushes against the muscles in the body wall or muscular walls of the body, and it creates kind of a whip-like action. So if you've ever seen a fire hose or a garden hose that's gotten away from somebody and it just starts whipping around and zipping and flipping and moving, that's the principle we're looking at here. That's parallel to a hydrostatic skeleton in phylum Nematoda. Right? So a big player when we talk about marine ecosystems, we probably won't ever see them because most of them are very small. They tend to be buried in the substrate. They often will be parasites, so we don't notice them there unless we're dissecting. Some of them are carnivores, but definitely a player in the marine ecosystem, especially in the sand substrate parts of the marine ecosystem. So, okay, our next group, phylum, Annelida. Now, Annelida are all the segmented worms. These are guys we will come across and ones I want you to be careful with, because some of them are very problematic. Others, not a problem at all. They're actually kind of fun to play with. But key features here, key characteristics of phylum Annelida. They have a segmented body plan. Looks like a bunch of segments stacked together. They have a closed circulatory system, meaning heart, blood vessels, it all stays in the same system. Increases energy, increases metabolic efficiency, increases oxygenation, increases movement. They will all have bilateral symmetry, and they have a body cavity that is a thing called a coelom, complete body cavity here. So these are big key features of this entire phylum. This phylum is very diverse and also very prevalent in the marine system. So I want to break it down further, just one step to class, and talk about one of the classes within phylum Annelida that's going to be important in the marine ecosystem. And you guys will get to see these, and they're actually a lot of fun to play with. So, okay, so the class is Polychaeta. These are the polychaetes. These are marine segmented worms. Now, big feature for the polychaetes is they all have these things called parapodia. Parapodia are flattened extensions on each segment of the body. All right, so they're these little nubs that stick off. So right here, this structure here. Oh, let me change colors, make it a little easier to see. So the worm on the left over there, what I'm working on highlighting here, this is a fireworm or a bristle worm. That entire structure there is known as a parapodia. There's another parapodia there. There's another one over here. So each of these, what looks like a little white tuft, those are parapodia. So if you follow it back, it actually, that's the entire parapodia, the entire structure, that little red there, and then the white tuft. Those are parapodias. Okay, those are little flattened extensions. Every body segment of a polychaete has a parapodia. The parapodia then have these little things called setae. These are little bristles or hairs on the parapodia. Now, important things about these little setae. The setae are little hair-like structures. Sometimes they will break off and embed themselves into your skin. So, not a good idea to touch the polychaetes, touch their setae or parapodia. So, if you guys have ever played with fiberglass, the setae on a lot of these polychaetes is like fiberglass. You touch it, it embeds into the skin. A little bit may not be that much of an annoyance. A lot of it gets to be problematic. There's specifically a polychaete called a fireworm. Do not pick this one up. Fireworm is given that name because it hurts. It feels like you're getting burned because the setae actually have a little toxin in it, and you get hundreds of these little fibers broken off into your skin. It's injecting the toxin. It's going to be a bad day for you. All right. Now the parapodia are actually really important features for these polychaetes because it is often where their respiratory system is at. Their exchange of nutrients occurs there with the parapodia, helps with movement. Very, very important structures. The little things to the right here, these are known as Christmas tree worms. These are some really fun polychaetes to play with. So don't touch them. Try to touch them. Watch the reaction. All right, so polychaetes within the annelid